Welcome to the Pocket. My name is Scooter, here to give you my Week 5 preview of the Giants matchup at Seattle. And there is some very unfortunate news heading into this game, as last week Malik Nabers suffered a concussion on Thursday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. He's had 10 days to recover, and all of us Giants fans had our fingers crossed that would be just enough extra time for him to clear concussion protocol. But he has been ruled out. Why? Why couldn't we have him for this game? I really thought we would have had a chance. The Seattle defense, I'll get into it more, but they've been a little bit vulnerable recently, and he would have been a big part of exposing them. But that's too bad. If it means he's going to be 100% healthy for the following week and there's going to be no risk for re-injury, then we got to do what we got to do to protect our star players. And if he didn't clear the protocol at all, then man, I guess it really is a, you know, pretty. It's not a mild concussion, right? Maybe it's not major, but it's definitely something that needs to be taken care of the right way. In other more positive news, the Pocket has recently hit 50 subscribers. Thank you all so much for liking, commenting, and sharing your thoughts, and for subscribing to the channel. It means so much to me. And whenever I hear somebody tell me about my videos and what they think about it, or that they love watching them in the morning, it just means so much to me. So don't forget, hit that like button. It really boosts the engagement to the videos, and subscribe if you aren't already, because now we're on to the next goal of 100 subscribers. Thank you all so much for 50. Now we're on to the next goal, and we're going to build this community. And I have a question for you all in the comments. Leave me some ideas. Is there something I should call my following? Something related to a pocket, right? A pocket in football, or something related to the name Scooter? I don't know. I've been thinking about it for a little bit. I don't really have any great ideas. So if you have any ideas, leave it down in the comments and I will consider them. So without further ado, let's get into this one. A big thing, obviously, at this point in the season is going to be injuries. And the Seattle Seahawks, they let up 42 points to the Detroit Lions last week. And a big part of that was the injuries they had, especially on the defensive line. Some of those carrying over into this week's game. Their first round pick, Byron Murphy II, a superstar rookie, has a hamstring. He will not be playing. And their nose guard, Cameron Young, with a knee injury, also will not be playing. Now, also listed as questionable, all these players on the Seattle defense. Boye Mafe, he's an edge rusher. He's listed as a linebacker, but he's a pass rusher. And safety Julian Love, former Giant. Used to love watching him play. He decided to go get paid and go to Seattle. I think he ended up getting less money. Either way, he's questionable with a thigh heading into this one. And for the Giants, as I started the video off saying, Malik Nabers, still in concussion protocol, isn't going to be able to make this one. And doubtful is Devin Singletary with a groin injury. So two of our most productive players on offense are either doubtful or not playing heading into this game. So that's not very good so far. And then questionable is Adoree Jackson, Drew Phillips, and Matthew Adams. Drew Phillips and Adoree Jackson, limited participants, I believe, on Friday, maybe Thursday as well. So they've been getting back into practice. That's good to see. We've missed them greatly on the defensive side of the ball. And then Matthew Adams, the linebacker, he's a backup to Micah McFadden. And I believe it is Deontay Johnson. Is he still on the roster? I don't think so. But so he's a backup player. But Drew Phillips and Adoree Jackson, love to get them back in this game. So now, team breakdown, Seattle Seahawks. I've talked a lot about the Giants so far. So in these preview videos, we're going to talk a lot more about the opposing team. So the Seahawks are 3-1. However, I would like to claim that I think they still have quite a bit to prove, as these 3 wins that they've pulled off so far have not been against the most competitive teams. Home versus Denver, week 1, Bo Nix's first game. He threw 2 interceptions. One or two of them were so bad, the announcer actually said, "Oh no," after he released the ball. And they only win by 6 points, 26-20. And then the next week, they go into overtime with the Patriots and squeak out a win, 23-20. That was at New England. And then the following week, they play the Tua-less Miami Dolphins and win 24-3. That's a more convincing showing against a bad team, but that was their first game completely without Tua. And in games without Tua, the Dolphins have been averaging roughly 7 points without him. And this offense of theirs has been really atrocious. They also suffered a season-ending injury to Jalen Phillips. The following week, this Dolphins team is just falling apart. Point is, I'm not really convinced that any of these wins are anything that an average team shouldn't pull off, given the circumstances for each game. And now, their Week 4 matchup against the Detroit Lions, their injuries really stacked up on the defensive side of the ball. Same sort of injuries to Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy, and who was the defensive tackle, the nose guard, Cameron Young. They were all out, and this Detroit Lions team exposed them, scoring 42 points. And Seattle still did manage to score 29. And if you look at the box score, it was not such a blowout. The Seahawks were down by 2 touchdowns at half. They scored 13 points in the third quarter. Lions still scored 14, and the Seahawks scored 9 in the fourth quarter. So the Seahawks were scoring points. They were staying in there, but it was that first quarter that killed them, where the Lions jumped out ahead. So Mike McDonald seems to be doing a good job so far. I mean, I would argue that they've only truly been tested in one game so far. I don't really think that the New England Patriots with Jacoby Brissett or Bo Nix's first game on the Broncos is really that great of a test, nor is Skylar Thompson backing up Tua on the Miami Dolphins. And I do think they played pretty well against Detroit despite their injuries, but still let up 42 points, even though that is a great offense. We'll get into a little bit more of that later on in the video. So it's tough to get a really true read on who the Seahawks team is because they've won close against bad teams, but they were pretty competitive against the great Detroit Lions team. So to me, they still got a lot to prove. And without Malik Nabers, even if they win this game, my thoughts aren't going to change too much on that because nobody knows what this Giants team is going to look like without Malik Nabers, but it can't be just as good. So it's really not going to prove that much by beating us. Now, their offense is great outside of their offensive line. They've allowed 2, 3, 3, and 3 sacks in each of their first 4 games. They just signed Jason Peters. But their head coach does seem to think that last week against the Lions, they did play their best game so far. So those are the words from Mike McDonald himself. So they're playing okay. Like I said, 2, 3, 3, and 3 isn't really, playing really that poorly. But we know that they are very vulnerable on this offensive line. If somebody goes down and misses a drive or two, it could be very atrocious for this offensive line. They struggled last year when you get pressure on Geno. That's clearly what is shown to be effective at stopping the Seahawks offense. So I do think this Seahawks offense is going to score at least 20 points on us, I think. They had 6.6 yards per play last week against the Lions. Lions had they were missing Brian Branch, so they had some injuries too, playing from behind, right? But either way, this Seahawks offense, we know the talent they have. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, matching up against our corners. Hopefully, Adoree Jackson and Drew Phillips are back to pair up with Deonte Banks. But I still would definitely give the edge to these Seattle wide receivers. You got Ryan Grubb calling the passing game. It's going to be a great challenge for this secondary to show their improvement. Now, as I stated before, this defense hasn't really impressed me so far. They weren't challenged early on, and then when they were missing 2 key players on the interior defensive line, they let up 42 points to the Lions. They allowed 7.8 yards per play against them, and that's really bad. The Lions are a great team, great offense, but they averaged 5.5 to 6.5 in the previous 3 games, and those were not against like great defenses, right? So it's not like the matchup was any easier or worse. They versed the Los Angeles Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just let up 36 points in prime time on Thursday night, and then the Arizona Cardinals, who got blown out by the Washington Commanders. So I don't think Seattle's defense is playing really that great without some of these key starters missing. So this interior of their defensive line could get exposed. The quarterback's going to have time in the pocket or at least the ability to navigate, right, because there's no interior rush, and you should be able to run the ball up the middle. But my question is, by what? What are the Giants going to expose the Seahawks team with? So let's translate to the offense now. Tyrone Tracy and Eric Gray are going to really have to step it up this week. I don't expect Devin Singletary to play, and this run game is going to be crucial. This offensive line has played pretty well so far, but they could definitely play better in the run game. their run blocking could improve. We can't suffer like we did last week, right? Dallas had a great game plan to beat us. I expect Seattle, even though they've got quite the unique scheme with Mike McDonald, to implement something similar with one high safety, load the box, force us to beat them with Hyatt, Wandale, and Darius Slayton. So Dable's going to have to create enough of a threat with the passing game to keep this defense honest. This is really something I said last week. Uh, it's going to be the same thing moving forward every week about this offense, but we just got to keep them honest, right? We can't let them just fill the box, stop the run, and then force our not super talented wide receivers or not super developed wide receivers to make plays to win. So Daniel Jones has to truly step up and be a leader, have a statement game, prove that it's not just Malik Nabers helping him this season, but also this offensive line, right? If there's no interior rush, no matter how bad, Hyatt or Slayton or Wandale are compared to the likes of Devin Witherspoon or Tariq Woolen, Julian Love if he plays. If you have enough time in the pocket or you can scramble and get things out of structure, any wide receiver will be able to get open. So Daniel Jones is going to have to be crossing his T's and dotting his I's to expose the Seattle defense. And that is going to be key for us to stay in this game. Now, Vegas projects with Nabers out, the line is moved by a half of a point. The Giants are now 7-point underdogs in a game with a 42.5 total. So that would project a 24-18 to a 25-18, somewhere in that range win for the Seahawks. But I will announce it now. I think these Seahawks are going to win, but I'm not sure that they are going to win by 7 points. I think the over is in play considering the injuries that the Seahawks have on this defense. And even if it's just a backdoor cover by the Giants, I'm going to take the Giants to lose 27-21. So I think a fairly respectable, hard fought game by the Giants that just gets out of hand by one or two big plays that DK Metcalf or Lockett makes. I think we're going to have trouble stopping JSN in this he's a great route runner, sure handed guy. And against our corners, or if we don't get a pass rush, he's going to be that outlet for Geno Smith, and he's going to take it every time. And then when there's a, play where DK beats Banks down the field, I think DK will score a touchdown on Banks. It's been a trend so far this year, so why wouldn't it continue to happen? So, in conclusion, the Seahawks are vulnerable on this interior defensive line. The Giants are going to have that as their only chance to be productive enough on offense to score a victory over the Seahawks team. I think the Seahawks offense versus our defense, it is what it is. I think they're going to score 20 plus points. And it would be great if we hold them to less than that, but I think it is unlikely. Just is going to take one or two plays for them to get a touchdown on the board. Geno Smith's been playing really well, and they got some explosive weapons. So, thank you all for watching. Once again, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments section, and subscribe if you aren't already. I want to reach that 100 subscriber goal. I want to have a name for you guys, my following, and I want to continue to build this channel into something bigger and bigger every opportunity I get. So thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful Sunday watching football.